Well, we're live. My name is Jamie J. I am the shareholder here at Bottleneck Distant Assistance, and I'm really excited today to talk to Mike Finger from oasis.com. So stay tuned. One thing, if you have any questions, please ask away. Don't feel shy. But if you have any questions and you're watching this in a replay, just simply type them in on the comment section there. I'll be happy to get those questions off to Mike as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and we'll have a nice little conversation here. Hello, my name is Jamie J. This is Live with Bottleneck. I'm your host, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business and life, because as you may or may not know, I believe in life balance, not work-life balance. So I think I'm going to add life to that as well, because I think it's pretty important there. So I'm going to be talking today with a wonderful gentleman named Mike Finger, owner of Exit Oasis. We're going to be talking about how giving away your work helps you sell your business. And what does that mean? And why can Mike Finger help you stop the bottleneck in your business? Well, let me tell you. Mike Finger is a successful small business owner. Over the last 25 years, Mike has bought, built, and sold multiple businesses. Building his first business was a rewarding challenge, but what really captivated him was selling his first business. I'm super pumped to learn about that, because I think building your business to sell right from the get-go is a really good thing, but maybe Mike will challenge me on that. I'm not sure. Without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to Mike Finger. How are you, sir?
Hey, Jamie, great to see you.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm stoked to be talking about this. This topic is near and dear to my heart, because this is something I hope to aspire to be like you when I grow up. It's pretty big deal to be able to actually say you've built a business that had value and you were able to sell. Doesn't happen very much. So I wonder, before we kind of jump into that topic, maybe you can give us an idea of who you are for those that may be meeting you for the first time. Tell us a little bit of background about yourself, and where are you in this world?
Sure. Well, you've reached me in Western Wisconsin. We had a wet, stormy day today, but normally this is a beautiful time of year to be here. A little bit about my background from a business ownership perspective. My wife and I started our first business in the mid-90s. We literally cut our dining room table in half to make 2 desks and started serving clients out of our living room. The first hook for me, Jamie, was growth. I was a bit of a growth junkie. So it was the next client, then the first employee, then more employees, and we grew the business. And after about 10 years, I found myself with 50 employees. And one morning I looked in the mirror and saw a crispy piece of toast looking back. It was a kind of a revelation for me at that point to realize I didn't want to do this anymore. And so I thought, well, I've grown my business. I'll just sell it, right? Because that's what we as business owners assume we get to do if we've survived and grown our business. And lo and behold, for me, when I hung up with the third or fourth business broker who said, sorry, man, I can't help you, started ticking off this list of reasons that anyone who, well, not anyone, but most business owners who talk to a business broker, this is their experience. They hear things like too owner dependent, not enough cash flow. They go down the list and then they say, why don't you take a look at fixing these things and come back to me in 2 years? For me, it was a professional low point, but unquestionably the pivot point for me. Fast forwarding 5 years later, I'm still at 50 full-time employees, but at that point, I'm able to make a successful sale because of changes that we'd made in the business. That sale moment for me was a life do-over. It's this miraculous moment where somebody lifts that 80-pound bag of potatoes that you carry around as a business owner, Jamie. I see you nodding your head. You know what that sack of potatoes feels like. And so
I try to set it down. It's just, you can't see it. It's there.
It's there, right? And the physical change that I felt that next morning was nothing short of miraculous. So had the opportunity to do a number of different things after that sale, including buying and selling 2 other small businesses. And that led me to the place where I am now at Exit Oasis, where I help other small business owners who are hoping to achieve not the sale, but sellability, right? There's a difference between those 2 things. So
I wonder, you know what, I'd love for you to elaborate on the difference, because to me, a sale means I want to sell my business. Sellability means I want to be able to, when I'm finally done with it and I want to go, it's ready to go. I don't have to take, because let me ask you this before I back up. Let me back up. You said 5 years later, you were able to exit from your business.
Yep.
How was that 5 years? Because prior to that, trying to sell, you were, I would assume, if you're trying to sell, you were kind of ready.
Oh,
and
man,
then you had to add on another 5 years.
I was burnt out, man. That 5 years, we got to cut it up, right? Because the first 12 months was misery. But as I started to learn what I needed to do to change the business, and that's the beautiful little secret, and that's why I focus on sellability, not a sale, right? Because ultimately, I don't care if you sell your business. What I want to do is help you as an owner create a business that gives you what you want. And that's the dirty little secret about this, is that we think that there's some hidden formula, but the reality is that there's a couple very simple questions you have to answer if you want a business you can sell. And I'm just gonna jump to those. Awesome. Are my results desirable? Can a buyer duplicate my results? And can I document my results? If I can answer yes to those 3 questions, I likely have a business that I can sell. If I answer no to any one of those 3, good luck. And again, so for me, going through learning that in the trenches as I was trying to change my business was incredibly painful. The good news was that the outcome was what I hoped for. So unfortunately, most small business owners aren't that lucky. 20% is the number, Jamie. Best number I can find online. 20% of small business owners will sell their business successfully someday. And again, I always hesitate with these numbers because the industry is not well documented, because you're not required to post anywhere that you've sold your business, right? There's no repository of information on this. So, but best numbers available that I or anyone else I've seen can find is about 20%.
So what was the second thing? You said, are your results desirable? And then you said the second thing.
Can a buyer duplicate your results?
Meaning
that if the ability to create what is attractive walks out the door when you do, it doesn't have value to me. And we as business owners, and that leads us to the topic that we're talking about today, right? If you as a business owner are the key to this business success, and you walk out the door, what am I buying? What am I actually buying? And there's, as business owners, we have a tendency to believe, well, they'll just step in and fill my shoes, right? And there's some legitimacy to that. Obviously, if I'm coming in to own your business, I'm going to work your job. But Jamie, how long did it take you to get good at what you're doing? How many years? What was the scale, right? And so if you're 15, 20 years in, even 5 years into your business, and you have some success to sell to me as a potential buyer, I got to know that I can safely replicate those results if you're not there. And that's where the topic we're talking about today of giving away your work, how each of those tasks, each of those responsibilities that aren't completely dependent on me as the owner, increases the value of the business. And by that, I mean, increases your ability to answer yes to question 2.
Are you replaceable?
Are you replaceable? Right.
So I pretty much everybody knows I'm a systems and processes freak. I love documenting. One of my favorite sayings by Scott Beebe is, do something as if it's the last time you're ever going to do it. I absolutely love that. Yep. And the reason why I would consider myself a little bit anal on workflows because every click of the mouse button is a step. And when we create a workflow here at Bottleneck, step 1 with a screenshot, this is what you do. If you move up and you click something else, that's step 2, because you don't want to lose anybody, right? Yep. And you want to be able to scale. As you said, you had 50 employees.
Yep.
Did any of those employees take over a role either from you or from someone else that was in that company?
It's so funny and more than a tad bit embarrassing. One of the realizations that I came to when I was going through that process with my business was the understanding that it was impossible for me to be in the room and not be that guy. And again, I'm embarrassed to say that, but what that meant is that I had built my business being that guy, the decision maker, master, juggler, all of those things that we need to be when there's 1, 2, 3 people in our business, right? All roads lead to you when your business is that small. So it's understandable that we develop that skill set. The problem is when we get to 13, 15 and above, as our business starts to grow, that very survivability skill set comes back and starts to hurt our business. And so for me, what I had to do is I had to literally exile myself from my business. I hired people to run the operation, and then I put myself 50 miles away in a little satellite office, and I sat there during the day instead of going into the business and screwing up what they were doing so much better than I could do.
You know, Mike, I want to say thank you for that. And thank you for sharing this message. I think what you did took some serious cojones because this is your baby. This is something you literally cut a table in half to begin this thing. You're working with your wife. Your business was leading your life. Your life wasn't leading your business, it seems to me. And you started getting frustrated what you were passionate about 10 and at the time of your exit, 15 years prior. A lot of that had changed because a lot of the business came in. And for you to have the ability and the awareness, frankly, to step away and say, you know what? I hired these people. I trust them. I think they're doing good. For you to kind of take out the micromanagement aspect of your business, people are so afraid of doing that. When I say people, I'm talking about business leaders or owners are really afraid of stepping away. I have to tell you, this happened to me this morning during our meeting. Someone asked a question. I was unable to answer it, and someone else on the team was able to address it.
Right.
I wanted to jump up and down. As weird as that sounds, I was like, yes.
It's a huge step, Jamie. I'll tell you one further though. The next step is when you're in that meeting and someone asks a question and you know the answer to it, and you keep your mouth shut until someone else answers it, right? Because that's that process of giving away the work. That's the and you know, thank you for the compliment. I don't know it's deserved. You called what I did courageous. I called what I did desperation, right? You get to this point, and that's, I will say that's some of the most fun of doing what I do, is that many of the business owners that I work with are to a point where they want to see a result the sale of their business or the freedom to make that decision, recognizing that what they've done up to that point hasn't created that. And so most of my clients are open to a level of change that they probably wouldn't have been 2 years before I met them, right? Because they want to see a concrete result. They know they're not creating it. And so fear, desperation, pain, call it whatever you want, inspiration, they get to the place where they say, okay, how do I do this? Well, it breaks down to small pragmatic steps like we just talked about. You're in the room, there's a question asked, keep your mouth shut, let the others develop the ability to answer the question, solve the problem without you. Because again, if I'm your buyer, that's the team I want. I don't want the team that stops when the question is asked and looks at the boss, because the buyer, as the buyer, my answer is going to be, I have no idea.
I love that. I love that. We've implemented a process so that everyone feels empowered to make their own decisions.
Yep.
I came up with for how to do that. And I think that's really, really helpful. We're not having a bottleneck, funny word. We're not having to bottleneck ourselves because of me.
Yep.
To a certain extent, yes, that's still the case, and I'm desperately trying to work on that. But like you, I'm not interested in selling my business, but I want to make sure that it's sellable.
That's right. Right, because we forget, Jamie, that we see this in social media, we see this in the content in this space, that I'm supposed to have an exit plan with a target, and I work my way to that target, right? I'm going to sell my business in 2035 for this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. It's okay. You've got a goal. What happens when you get a diagnosis tomorrow? What happens when you find an opportunity tomorrow that's way better than the one you're working on, but you can't pursue it because you can't get out of what you're doing now without an incredible amount of pain, right? The flexibility, and again, the other side of it is a business that's ready to sell is the best business in the world to own, right? Why? Because the results are desirable. Well, who doesn't want a business with desirable results? I'm replaceable as the owner. So what does that mean? That means that I don't have to be there 80 hours a week. It means I can actually take a vacation, go to my kid's ball game, have some flexibility and freedom. You can document the results. Well, that's the kind of financial information that we as owners get to use to make better business decisions. So all of those things work together to make it more attractive. And truthfully, it's one of the things I find so attractive about your business model, Jamie, is that for many, many small business owners, and let's not make the mistake of understanding, most small business owners in the country are teeny tiny, right? Mm-hmm. They're one-person shops. And those of us in that position, we start from the premise, well, I don't have the ability. I can't hire another full-timer. I'm not there yet. So how in the world can I give things away? Well, how do I give that away? Fractional assistance. I can use vendors to cover responsibilities. I can take these steps and put together a team that helps me progress to that place where I am hiring people and filling those gaps.
I love that. That's in essence what we do here at Bottleneck. It's a great way to kind of grow your business without having to worry about bringing someone on full time. But what I really like about what you just said too is, if you are running a business and you do get sick, what happens, right? How do you get away with that? I'll give you a great example. And this is not to bring everybody down, and many people know the story. It's a story I put in my book that's coming out next week. But my mom passed away March 1st of 2020. As you can imagine, she was in California. I'm here in Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah.
The first 6 weeks of 2020, I was traveling back and forth to California, and basically living in the hospital. I let my assistant know, hey, my mom's sick. I got to go take care of her. She's like, Jamie, don't worry. We got your back. Needless to say, I was not in a good frame of mind to be making business decisions and things like that. And it didn't occur to me till I was actually on the plane flying over there going, okay, what do I need to do here? I need to make sure And I called her, and she goes, Jamie, don't worry, we got it. She had no idea, but I started crying after I got off the phone. All these emotions hit me. What was crazy, when I came back almost 2 months later, the company was in a better position than when I left it. Like, what the heck am I doing here?
I know. It's I've had that experience in terms of their ability to do the work better than I am. But your story is so important for small business owners to hear, because especially when we're in that zone where we're doing the work and we're pumping it out. And again, you started by talking about sellability from the start. And I'm enough of a realist to give some pushback on that. I'm a believer that a small business, your first goal when you start the small business is to reach the place of sustainability. If you're not at sustainability, then the other stuff doesn't really matter, right? Because you're essentially bailing out the water from the boat every day, just keeping it afloat. So let's not worry so much about the end until we've created a place of sustainability. But once you get there, once you get to the place where you go, okay, if this were, I can do this for 3 months or 3 years, but there's enough flow of revenue and things are working out. And once you get to that place, if you're not passionately pursuing the space of building a business that you can sell, creating a business that has value beyond you, then what you have is an income, you have a job, you really don't have a business, right? And
Right.
I've got mixed feelings about that phrase, job versus business, because I think there's a tendency for it to be overused for that early stage small business owner. Like I'm doing something wrong because I just started my business and I'm working 18 hours a day at it and I'm barely making any money. Hey man, that's the life. That if you're not willing to do that and you don't have, rich relatives, that's the life, and lean into that and be that. But grow past that and recognize your need to. And part of that growth is, even if you don't want to, even if you're not required to, you got to start giving away that work. You've got to start understanding the critical importance, not just because you don't want to work so hard. Maybe you want to work so hard, but you start giving away the stuff other people can do. And guess what? That creates space for you to do more important things.
Mike, I can't, I'm exclamation point on everything you're saying. Like I think this is so important for people to realize. There's also a saying that says, hey, you should work on your business, not in it. And I totally disagree with that until you reach a certain point. Right. You said something about earlier, obtaining sustainability, sustainable business by creating. Is it fair enough for me to say this? And if not, please disagree with me, but please elaborate if it is correct. Would it be fair to say that in creating sustainability, you're creating sustainability through documenting your processes, your systems, through workflows? Would that be a fair way of saying how to create sustainability?
I think that's part of it, Jamie. When I say sustainability, here's the picture I flash back to. I flash back to my desk in the very early days of my first business that were covered with about 8 different credit cards, where I was using the promotional check from one to pay off the balance on another in order so I could stay ahead of when the crippling interest rate hit. When I talk about sustainability, for me, it's primarily financially driven. It's the owner's ability to get to that place where, hey, the phone actually rings occasionally, where I'm actually generating enough income to not have to worry about putting food on the table. That's the vision for me of sustainability. But obviously, to your point, how do I get there? Well, part of the reason part of the way I get there is I realize what works in my business, and I start doing that over and over and over again. And how do I do that? Because I identify it, I capture it, I document it, and then when it's time to do that, that little thing pops up on my screen and says, here's the 7 steps that you need to do this. Boom, boom, boom. I do those. I'm on to the next thing. The beauty of that is now when I hire my first employee or my 10th, or I hire an assistant, I can say, I want you to do this and I want you to do it this way. And again, the beauty of that is that they do it that way. And then they come back and they say, well, you know what? I started adding step 8 and I'm getting better results. And you're like, fabulous. We got a step 8. Now we're doing it better. I mean, all of that growth, that capture comes from that journey. So I completely agree with what you're saying. It's hard for me to get that picture of the credit cards lined up on my desk out of my brain.
Well, I think a lot of people resonate with that. I resonate with that.
Right.
Totally resonate with that. You know, borrowing from this to pay this and taking from that account and transferring it to this account, all the while causing our CFO, fractional, by the way, CFO, a headache, nightmare. Like, what is Jamie doing?
Right.
I get it. I totally.
Jamie's just trying to keep his head above water, baby.
Yeah. And so I love that. I love the fact that I agree with you. You got to make yourself replaceable. You got to set up systems. You got to, is your business documented? What kind of tools, what do you do for number 3 there that you said, are your results desirable? Kind of handled that. Can a buyer duplicate your results? Is your business documented? What can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. It's can you document your results? And there we're talking about everything from financial record keeping. I'm sorry, but if you can't prove it, it didn't happen. I've had too many experiences where I've gone to look at a business to buy, and I've gotten the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Those aren't our real numbers, and that is a game that owners play at their own peril, right? Because you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. And here's the deal: if you come to me and tell me that that's happened, what you've told me is you're a liar.
Yeah.
And now I'm supposed to believe you because you admitted you're a liar. When you're willing to lie to the IRS, who can put you in jail, and all I can do is frown at you, what are the odds I'm going to believe anything that you tell me? So it's a dangerous game that owners play. It's a stupid game.
Be true to yourself. Why not?
Yeah, well, exactly. And here's the deal. Those are really fun stories to tell. Oh, this guy lied, he died. But in most cases, the lack of documentation is a function of incompetence or overwork instead of dishonesty, right? We as business owners say,
ignorant.
Here's my box of receipts, right? I give it to my accountant at the end of the year. Okay, I get it. You're busy. You're trying to make the sale. We're back to sustainability versus, I get it. But don't pretend that you get to run your business that way and then wake up the next morning and go, no, I'm going to sell it. Because if you can't document your results, they didn't happen. Do you have contracts with your employees? Do you have contracts with your vendors? Can you show a consistent ability to produce the results? We start talking about documentation in terms of systems and in that space as well. So that is just a critical element. And truthfully, those are some of the sadder cases, because if you've got desirable results and you've done the work so that someone can duplicate them, and all that's lacking is the fact that you didn't spend the time or the money to get your accounting done right, that's a stinky situation to be in.
And here, you know what? That was me. I didn't lie about it.
Yeah.
I was afraid to share my situation with someone.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord for Kurt Stowers in helping me. And not going, man, you're such an idiot. Why didn't he was like, okay, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And had I done that from the beginning, oh my gosh, how much further along I would be. Yeah. But I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not that great with numbers. Sure. I'm really good with systems and things like that. And so one thing that I am is I'm extremely passionate about helping other business owners free up their time so they can go do this stuff.
Yep.
That's what I'm extremely passionate about. And 30% of the time, I broke it down to 70-30 or 75-25. In order for me to enjoy that 75% of my passion, I've got to go through 25% of crap. I've got to do bookkeeping, and I got to talk about numbers, and I got to the stuff like, and most people get excited about that. Like, well, look at our profit, or look at, and all that. I don't, I love being profitable. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But going through that process is like, it's like nails on a chalkboard with me. Writing out email sequences and stuff like that. That's not super fun. This is fun, right? Like, this is the part of the 70% that I love. Meeting new people and learning new things.
Sure.
And I think if people can picture that way, because you bring this up on the finance end of thing, can your business be documented? I think a lot of people just don't know what they don't know, and they don't realize how important it is. So they have their little penciled ledger here over the side, like, oh, I spent this money. Oh, we made this, or whatever.
Yep.
And maybe they're not into QuickBooks yet. QuickBooks is kind of scary. It's kind of like there's a lot going on there.
Right.
And, well, send me over an invoice. Okay, so someone goes and makes an invoice off of a Word document template. Here you go. That's how I started.
Yeah, well, that's how many of us started, right? And again, I respect the self-awareness of someone who says, listen, I'm really bad at this. I don't get it, right? Because that's okay. There's things I don't get about growing a business. There's things I'm miserable at. I'm just bad at it. But again, to the topic today, recognizing its importance doesn't mean you have to be the one that does it. It's not your job to do it. It's your job to make sure it gets done. And so that willingness to embrace your own lack of ability in a space, but still recognize the importance of it, that's a great combination, because it allows you to say, now I need someone who cares about this. How beautiful is that, Jamie? You've got to have experienced that when there's something it's important, you hate doing it, or you're really bad at it, and then you find someone who's passionate about it, who cares about making sure that the reconciliation gets to zero, who giggles when that happens. There's people out there like that, and
yeah,
I love them,
Kurt.
right?
That's Kurt.
They giggle when they get there, and that's their passion and their joy, and they can do it for you, and now you can focus on making that next sale or doing that thing. But if you ignore it, if you think because you're not good at it that it's not important, that's how businesses get crushed.
Yeah, and it does get to a certain point where you're just like, I don't know what's going on, and
Right.
and that's very dangerous water to tread, and so sucking it up and just kind of saying, you know what, I got to get out of my own way. I got to get over my own self and get this thing sorted. I think that's a big thing, especially with business owners, small business owner stuff. We all have kind of this is our baby. This is my deal. I'm doing stuff my way. I don't have a boss for a reason.
Yep.
Well, that's dangerous. I'm really glad you brought
And
it.
it's the cruelty of the environment, right? Because you had better have that mindset on day one, because it is all up to you. You got nothing but you to depend on in many cases, right? I didn't have money in the bank when I started my business. I had a very thin bank account. And so it's like, okay, I got to do it all. But you've got to recognize that mentality that allows you to survive up to sustainability now starts to hurt you beyond that.
I think it's also very important to understand that whatever it is that you're going to be getting into, you've got to have, you mentioned vision earlier. There's got to be a big vision associated with that you're honestly, truly passionate about. And because if you're not passionate, you're just doing this for the almighty dollar, when stuff like this gets tough and you're finding yourself in the weeds with, that passion isn't going to be there to push you through. Like literally, if I'm doing something that's painful, I go, I get to reward myself tomorrow by talking to Mike. I'm pushing through this. I'm pushing through this. I'm pushing through this. And then when I get there and I'm talking to you, I'm like, I'm getting rewarded right now. This is fantastic. I'm glad I accomplished that stuff.
Yeah. You start to see those building blocks build the structure of a business that you actually want.
So what do you think is, where is someone at when they want to reach out to you?
Well, the perfect client for me, and I take them from all ranges, but the perfect client for me is somebody who's made has reached that point of sustainability, but hasn't found the path to move on to success. That's the owner I love working with. That said, I've got clients that are holding on by their fingernails, and I've got clients that are trying to figure out where to spend the money. And so, but the sweet spot for me is that business owner who's got that place where I've got it together, I've figured it out. How do I move on to what's next? And again, the motivating factor is that question of the freedom to be able to make a decision about exiting your business. That is something that is key. And again, people don't come to me because they want to sell, right? They want to be able to sell. I don't know if I'm ready to. It's common for me to hear from somebody, I don't know if I'm ready to sell, but I'm ready to be ready to sell.
Ooh, very important distinction.
Yep. Yeah, it is, because we think that it's important that we're ready. And the truth is, what's really important is the business ready.
So one last thing I want to touch on, and then I'd love to find out how people can get in touch with you. But earlier you mentioned that, you were ready to sell. You found out you couldn't sell. It was 5 years later. That first 12 years was, or 12 months, I'm sorry, after realizing you couldn't sell you weren't in a position to sell your business. What got you through that 12 months?
Hope, but primarily lack of choice to do anything else. And I wish I could be more cheery about it, but too many of us as business owners get to a fairly dark place there, right? Where it's like this burden of our own self-created mountain is crushing us, right? We made this thing. This is supposed to be the right place for me. From the outside, we had 50 employees. We were growing. Exciting things are happening all the time, but the silent panic was just barely keeping the pieces together and duct tape and doing this and that. And so it was the drive and the desire to see a different place. And the good news is that, and it's something I do with clients now, this isn't a let's sit together and do a great big plan over the next 3 months that helps us figure out what we want to do 18 months from now. It's like, no, let's identify something very pragmatic today that we can fix to start to make things better. And then let's build on that, and let's build on that. And pretty soon, you're not quite as far in the dumps as you were before, and you start to see that the positive results start to generate from that new perspective you're bringing to the work you're doing.
Well, I know in 4 clicks of the button, I can check on the financial health of our business.
Yeah.
In 4 clicks.
Right.
That did not happen before.
Right. Yeah.
It was, I don't know. I had no, you know what it was? My wife asked me, she goes, Jamie, how much money do we make? I wasn't able to answer it.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big slap in the face. So before I get how people can reach out to you, describe that feeling the day after you sold your business.
I see the stupid grin. Jamie, the analogy I use is that magical do-over when you were a kid playing kickball, right? It's like there's a dispute about a play. You just say, you know what, we're going to do it again. And that's what this was for me. It was an opportunity to say, this has been a fabulous book. Now I get to close it and put it on the shelf and decide what I want to do next. And it was just, it's a magical time. It's a magical time for a small business owner. I am a big believer in the end of stories, and especially when you get the ability to start a new one.
I love it. So how do people get in touch with you?
I'm pretty active with content on LinkedIn, so that's a good place to go. You can hit me at exitoasis.com, either through the contact page there. You can hit me by email. I'll respond to just about any call. So, but again, if you're looking to taste, then LinkedIn's probably your best connection point, and that's where a lot of content gets pushed out about this topic.
Fantastic. So you got to go check Mike out at on LinkedIn, Mike-Finger. You can go check him out there. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap today?
Again, I love the topic. I love the ability, for example, that your business gives for someone to incrementally engage the idea of giving away your work, to start to explore what it means and the power that comes when your business is more than just about you.
I love it. I love it. Mike, do you have just a second to where I can wrap up for us?
Of course.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll be right there with you. And I just want to say thanks to everybody that's tuning into this, either now or in the future. If you're watching this on a replay and you have a question for Mike, by all means, leave it in the comments. I'll make sure to get it to Mike. You can even tag him. I'd reach out on LinkedIn and follow him, see what he's doing. Go check out at his website. His website is exisoasis.com. And here's his LinkedIn at Mike-Finger. If you want to send him an email, feel free. mfinger at exisoasis.com. But as he said, this probably the best place to connect with him is on LinkedIn. He's pretty strong, has a pretty strong presence there. I just want to say thanks to Mike. This is a really important topic, and it's Mike Michalowicz comes to mind briefly on this because he said a lot of people take a week or 2 week vacations, right? The challenge is you don't go through the cycle of an entire month in your business. If you can't take a week off of your business, detox, all digital detox, then question your systems, question whether you have everything in place in order to do so. And if you run the business yourself, it's okay not to have all of this. You don't have to have your business ready to sell the day you open. But as Mike says, as you're going along, document your processes and develop your system as you're going along. And maybe you can start hiring fractional assistants or, a distant assistant or something like that, where it's not going to be as costly as it would be to hire an actual employee. There's ways of kind of figuring this out. But first and foremost, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, I might rethink what it is that you're trying to do here. But yeah, definitely go check out exitoasis.com or check out Mike Finger on LinkedIn. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to see more episodes like this, live with Bottleneck, you can shoot on over to Bottleneck.Online/BTV, where you can see some other examples of some of the people that we've interviewed. And you can also go directly to our YouTube channel and subscribe from there. We've got hundreds of videos of these interviews and processes. And August 31st, our book, which is actually a great topic for today, Quit Repeating Yourself. It will be in bookstores and Amazon, all that stuff, starting Tuesday, August 31st, how today's leaders are using systems and processes to grow their business the right way. And we have a lot of fun with that. Previously, there's probably a dog barking you can hear in the background, and my apologies. Previously, I talked to Elizabeth Dotson. She's a co-founder of Homezada, and we talked about how to start and scale a technology business to 7 figures. And that was it had a lot about documenting your systems and processes. Coming up next, I'm going to be talking with Chuck Cooper. He's a managing member at Whitewater Consulting of the Whitewater Consulting Group, and we're going to be talking about what is HR outsourcing. That's coming soon to your earbuds Thursday, August 26th at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, I want to say thank you so much to Mike Finger for coming on and sharing his wisdom with us, how giving away all your work helps you sell your business. He is the owner of Exit Oasis. Please go check him out on LinkedIn. Thanks again to him. Remember, create your own ripple. I want to say thank you very much. Have a good one.